That's nice. A fair shot is desperately needed today, there is no doubt about it, and our platform, Forbes Georgia Health, is also advocating for it actively. This week, the ambassador of Israel, Gidor, was asked about the vaccinated tourists from Israel and their intentions to travel to Georgia. We can listen to what His Excellency said that day.
Israeli tourists have already started coming to Georgia. We have already re-established direct flights between our two countries, and I would like to remind you that until the pandemic, in 2019, there were 200,000 Israeli visitors in Georgia, which represent the single biggest group of foreign tourists from anywhere in the world which is not immediately neighboring on Georgia. We used to have 42 direct flights every week, six flights a day. So now that in Israel 60% of the population are vaccinated, there's really no reason why Israelis shouldn't come visit Georgia again.
More than 60% of the population vaccinated. Such a good job, Israel. It is even more valuable to hear what the ambassador of this country has to say about the pace of vaccination in Georgia. So let us listen to him once again.
Until about 4 or 5 weeks ago, the problem was that there were no vaccines in Georgia. Now there are vaccines, but the main problem is that most people don't want to get vaccinated. Now, I understand why people are suspicious. I understand why people are afraid. And of course, there have been some cases with AstraZeneca that are cause for concern. But I think the main problem is that when it comes to vaccinations, people don't get their information from reliable sources. Even educated people, instead of approaching the website of the WHO, the World Health Organization, to see what they say about AstraZeneca, about vaccinations. I have many Georgian friends that are very dear to me. And it always takes me by surprise that instead of getting information from serious media organs or websites, they prefer to believe to rumors or conspiracy theories. And they say to me, we shouldn't get this vaccine because it's deadly. And I said, who told you this? Oh, my friend. But your friend is not a doctor, right? So I think in the short term and in the long term, economic recession is much more dangerous for Georgia than any possible side effects from any kind of vaccine. So I urge all our Georgian friends, partners, neighbors to get themselves vaccinated as soon as possible. Yes, there are always some side effects, but even simple aspirin can have a side effect. So don't be afraid. The fact that Israel and the Israeli population are the first in the world in getting themselves vaccinated means that we can now get rid of all the restrictions and we are going back to normal almost immediately.
Forbes Georgia Health Platform has also been for a while advocating for a more sufficient informational campaign on different vaccines and vaccinations in general. This is what Mr. Ambassador's vision is on the same issue. Shalom, Mr. Ambassador.
We've been asked to advise the Georgian authorities, government authorities, on how to improve their outreach media campaign. You could always improve it more and more. But I think basically what we need is celebrities or people that have the public trust. They could be religious leaders, they could be TV celebrities, actors, singers, people that the ordinary person in the street would believe. And I think the Georgian government can identify with this kind of policy, and this is where it's going.
The ambassador of Israel was also asked about legal employment of Georgians in Israel. Mr. Gidor provided some details of the program, which we can share with our viewers and followers right now.
We are going to start with an initial quota of 1,000 job permits for people who qualify according to a very strict criteria which is listed on the website. I'm sure that there'll be many thousands of applicants and candidates, and we're hoping to choose the very best. It's important to stress that there is no private sector involvement in this. This is purely government to government in order to eliminate any possibility that anyone would try to make illegal profit out of this. So I think this is a great opportunity for Georgian people to gain legal employment, lucrative, profitable employment in Israel.
And the last point, Elena, but not the least, definitely, it is the emphasis on FDI and Georgia's economic growth. Here is Mr. Ambassador's take on these issues.
First of all, we have to realize that we are in the middle of a global pandemic. It's very difficult to attract FDI anywhere around the world, not just Georgia. Even rich European countries are struggling to attract FDI. We also have to remember that before the pandemic, Georgia registered average annual growth of maybe 5%, more or less.
So is it enough for Georgia?
Well, what is enough? The usual, economists can approach each question from different angles, but the usual criteria is you look how much the population is growing. And if the economy is growing more than the population, it means that quality of life, standard of living is improving. Now, the Georgian population is not growing very fast. Some people say that it's actually shrinking. And yet, until 2019, the economy was growing on an average rate of 5%. So maybe it could be more, maybe it could be improved, but I would say that compared to other countries, Georgia was doing quite well.
We are BMG. Follow and subscribe for business and economics news.